This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
For liking the Bulls last night. One of two play-in demolitions on the hardwood as we welcome you in here to Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Thursday edition of the program. Stormy Buonantony with you live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino. Alongside today, our girl Grace Remington holding it down over there in Nashville. And it was funny last night, Grace, because as you know, I have been doing some shoots around Circa over the course of the last couple days. So I haven't been able to fully watch these games from start to finish because I'm getting home at like 8, 9 o'clock. And so I checked my phone in the middle of one of the shoots yesterday. Just want to see what the Bulls score is. 71-47 at halftime. It's going to be like that for me. So that wasn't my favorite moment yesterday.
I had the same thing happen to me. I was out at a commitment last night and I happened to walk by a sports bar. So I was like, ooh, let me peek in the window real quick. Yeah. And I saw the score and I was like, well, there goes our whole show yesterday. Every single guest, me and Stormy, multiple times. Okay, let's just erase and start over.
I know, and shame on me for thinking that an Eric Spoelstra-led team would lose to the Bulls. Third straight year now, right. Miami has beat Chicago, knocking them out of whatever the postseason format could look like for them. Tyler Hero played hero. Great performance from him. 38 points, hit his first 8 shots from the floor. Bulls just didn't want to defend him for some reason. But you said it. Everybody that we had on the show, even if it wasn't a hard, I'm going to bet Chicago today. Everybody leaned that way. But truly, it was just a spot where the Heat did whatever they wanted to last night.
Yeah, and Spo said it after the game. Chicago had swept them in the regular season series 3-0, so they were humbled, and it gave them a little bit extra motivation, a bit more respect for the opponent. And he said that was the reason their defense intensity increased last night. Chicago's 90 points was the fewest in a game all season, and this was a team that came into the play-in as one of the hottest teams to close the season. So, silly us for doubting Spo in the playoffs, but I guess that just happens this time of year.
Yep, 109-90, the final score. Total stays well under, and obviously we saw that under money come through in spades. I did want to mention this real quickly as well, just because I brought up the prop on the show about Josh Giddey double-double. That did cash, so anybody who was involved in betting that up from minus 240 to over $4, good on you for laying the juice, because it came through for you. I say that tongue-in-cheek, but it's true. That said, we got a lot more to get to over the course of the next couple hours here on Money Moves, so if you would please, producer Brian Ortega, let's fire up the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is The Rundown.
So it's actually both top seed, 10 seed dogs rather, yesterday that come through. The Heat and the Mavs both win outright to advance to the NBA play-in tournament. Heat close 2-point dog ultimately there. Total stays under, as I referenced. Dallas upset Sacramento as a 4.5-point dog. 120-106 the final there, Grace. Dallas led by as many as 26 in this one. And this was the game that we talked about with the massive total movement, a huge swing, opened as high as 223, closed some places as low as 213. Ultimately didn't matter what number, goes over all of them.
At least our guts are correct on something, because that 10-point swing was just ridiculous. It went over the opening number. Yep. At 226. Now totals in the play-in are 2-2. The underdogs are 3-1 against the spread. So I'm fine with being wrong on a 1-point spread, but when you see a movement this big, there's just no reason. There's no reason for that at this point in the year.
AD had 27 points, 9 boards, got a little vintage Klay Thompson as well last night. He finished with 23, 8 of 11 shooting, 5 of 7 from 3. Said post-game he did feel like he exercised some demons after what happened to him last year in the play-in with Golden State going 0-10. We will also get into a little bit of hockey coming up today. VSiN's own Jonathan Davis is going to stop by the program. With Montreal's win over the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday, we have our playoff field officially set, so we'll get his thoughts on some of those series prices, maybe some teams from a futures perspective to invest on. And then with today being the last day of the NHL's regular season, we touched on this a little bit yesterday with Josh Ingles, Grace, that it's less about who's going to win or lose these games or how many goals are going to be scored, but maybe some potential bonuses or milestones that players are looking to reach.
I know in the NFL, I love betting player props for the guys with incentives. So that's a great point in the NHL too. But also he made the point about the AHL guys being called up and trying to prove themselves. So I love that, surface level, you might think last day of the regular season, these are meaningless games, but there's really not. And I can't wait to hear Jonathan Davis' angle on some of these.
No doubt about it. Also, Wes Reynolds going to join us, VSiN betting analyst, talk through the MLB slate that's coming up today, which we'll be doing next segment as well. And plus, just coming off of Masters weekend, I'm curious his thought process on how to bet or not bet Rory McIlroy moving forward now that he has officially secured that career Grand Slam. And our third guest of the day, Grace, Chuck Esposito, Red Rock Racing Sportsbook Director over there in Summerlin, head behind the counter as we discuss this NBA stuff. Who is getting the money in the NBA futures market, some of these early first round spreads. I'm excited for that conversation later.
Right. And I loved the perspective some of our guests gave yesterday about these series prices seeming a little bit off. So curious to get Chuck's thoughts on that. And then his thoughts on the NFL draft, too, because as these markets get tighter and then there's just fewer prop markets available, I think we could learn a lot from what they're posting over there at Red Rock.
Yep. As of today, we are officially 1 week out from the start of the first round of the NFL draft. Last but certainly not least, rounding out our top five today on our rundown. Do you approve this move? That'll be later on this hour. A couple dogs we mentioned already getting cashing that we have seen here in the play-in, and we see a few of them in the first round early games that are already getting bet as well. Clippers down from 3.5 to 2.5. The Timberwolves down from 5 to 4. So we'll break down whether or not we approve some of the movement on the spreads and totals in those NBA matchups. Now, we will stick with the NBA here to start because we do have those spreads and totals set now for the games that are going to be coming up on Friday as we round out who's going to cement those final seeds in the playoff field. Atlanta opened a 1-point favorite against Miami. Pick 'em now, lots of books. I even see ESPN Bet having Miami laying 1.5. The total there, 219. Winner will get the top-seeded Cavs in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Meanwhile, the other matchup, Grace, the Grizzlies laying 6.5 against the Mavs, who won big last night. Circa and some other spots, I believe, at 7 right now. This total open 222, seeing as low in the market as 220.5, 221.5, the consensus number, with the winner getting OKC in the West. And this is the note I've been telling everybody, Grace, and I think that it bears repeating. For as good as the Mavs and Heat looked last night, we have never seen a 10 seed actually cement their spot into the full playoff field. Based on what we know early about these teams here so far, do you think this year the trend could be bucked, or is it another season where ultimately the 10 seeds can't get it done?
It's possible. I mean, especially what we saw from the Heat last night. They're playing the Hawks second time in the last 3 seasons. These teams are facing each other in the play-in. Atlanta, of course, won in 2023. So the Heat out for revenge here, but they split their regular season series 2-2 with the home teams winning each time. I think the Hawks could look a little bit better here. They obviously had a rough outing against the Magic, which is the top scoring defense in the NBA. Miami isn't as elite. They're the 7th in scoring defense, but considering what we just saw, what they did to Chicago, their lowest point total this season, could be another difficult night for Atlanta. And I always think it's so interesting comparing the betting splits on VSiN.com between DraftKings and Circa, because it's just so obvious how the public and the sharps are just on opposite sides. It never fails to make me chuckle. Right now, 97% of the handle at Circa on the Hawks, but at DraftKings, it's split. Yet more bets are on the Heat. So interesting to watch that one. And then, of course, the Mavs and Grizzlies just saw each other on Sunday, but both teams were resting a lot of key players in that one. So hard to take much from that. I think the big question here is, will Ja Morant be healthy after that kind of gruesome ankle roll he had the other night?
No question about it. And a lot of the things that you laid out there will make an interesting conversation when we do have Chuck Esposito join the program. Last couple minutes here, we do have first pitch for our first baseball game that's about to get underway in just a couple minutes, Grace. D-backs and Marlins going head-to-head. Arizona on a nice little run here. Lately, they did take the first 2 of the series with the Marlins on a 4-game win streak, won 6 of their last 7. Anything that you're looking at in this one coming up in a few minutes?
Yeah, originally I was thinking about the under 8.5 when it was priced at even odds. I think I want to isolate just the Miami side of this and do their team total under 3.5. The D-backs are throwing Eduardo Rodriguez. He's a lefty. His ERA this season is a 4.86, but you look at the expected metrics, they're a lot better than that. A 3.39 expected ERA and a 2.74 expected FIP. His K rate right now over 29%. That's the highest of his career. His career long number is just over 23%. And the reason for that is he's mixing his pitches differently. And of course, playing in a dome this afternoon always helps with pitching. Looking at Miami's offense up against him, they haven't faced enough left-handed pitchers this season to have a significant sample size, but last year they were a bottom 2 offense against southpaws, so I think we could make a judgment based on that. And then behind Rodriguez, Arizona has the best bullpen in the league. I do like Edward Cabrera on the other side, which is why I originally leaned to the full game under 8.5, but Miami's bullpen is bottom 5 and Arizona's offense is a top offense against right-handed pitching. So I think I would just rather isolate Miami, take their team total under.
And you can still get in some of those numbers live. We have our first batter, Corbin Carroll, up on at the plate right now, getting things started. Arizona minus 140 favorite around that closing price. And as you mentioned, the total 8.5 juiced to the under. And nothing's happened yet. And we've already got more juice on that live line on DraftKings up to minus 125. We're going to take our first time out here of the day. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to keep the baseball talk rolling, breaking down our angles for what is a loaded slate, plus a little reaction to a couple of bad beats yesterday. Hopefully we can push it forward in a more positive way coming up today. Don't go anywhere. More Money Moves after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Day slate on the MLB card already underway as we welcome you back into Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. I'm Stormy Buonantony alongside Grace Remington today. D-backs in the top of the first, no outs, do have a runner on already, but scoreless here to start. Nationals Pirates getting set to get underway here in a little bit, as will Marlins and Reds, and we'll keep you updated on all of those scores and previews as we go. I did want to talk here to kick off this segment, though, Grace. We spoke on the show yesterday so much about the Braves and Spencer Strider making his season debut after 376 days away. You said if there was a day to fade Strider, it would probably be yesterday, and that ends up coming through despite the betting market continuing to bet Atlanta up to around minus 150 or higher. They ultimately lose 3-1 yesterday to the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm grateful to you as well for talking me out of the K prop, because the over under on strikeouts for Strider was sitting at 5.5. It was juiced to the over. He ends up with 5. So bless your soul.
Thank you. Yeah, that would have hurt to lay a minus 135 and not hit that one. But like you said yesterday, that 5.5 is probably the lowest we will ever see his K prop. It's good to see him back, but what was a little bit concerning is that his average velo was down a full mile an hour on both the four-seamer and the slider, and those are his two primary pitches. The first inning velo on the fastball was almost 97. It sat at 96.9, but that's still down from his first inning average in 2023 when he had his fantastic year. It was 97.2 in the first inning then. The good news on the slider is it's still getting a crazy high whiff rate. I think it's 63%, but that fastball had a weighted on base average of 482. He threw it 60% of the time last night, which is pretty in line. That's a little bit heavy usage compared to what he's done career-wise, but still, like, the whole reason he's so successful is because he's topping out in the high 90s on that fastball, and then everything's building off of that. And if the fastball is not as effective, he doesn't really have much else to offer. So I'm not worried now. It's just his first game back. And I mean, form-wise, he looks okay. So I'd rather have him out there than not. He's always so electric to watch, but we'll see what happens.
No doubt about it. Again, 5 strikeouts, gave up 2 runs. They didn't hold him back, though, at least distance-wise. 97 pitches for him yesterday, so we'll see what that looks like as he kind of kicks the rust off a little bit and gains a little bit more of that arm strength. Chris Bassett on the other side is the one that wins that pitcher's duel. 10 strikeouts, gave up 3 hits and 2 walks, but no runs through 5 innings of work. And my last thing on this before we move on, are we getting close to a time to where it is like a good buy low opportunity to bet the Braves to make the playoffs? We're down to minus 135 for them right now. Should we wait until we get another maybe like rusty start from Strider and then the expectation from us mentally that he's going to get to form, but the books might continue to take this down with them losing more games?
I've actually been tracking their win totals. I know last week, I'm glad you reminded me, because last week it was 89.5, and I still was a little bit surprised at that. I was like, give me to 88. That's where I would bet it, actually, because you can get a minus 110 there. And then if they're winning 90 games, like they're making the playoffs. So I would rather buy low on them in that market.
Okay. Quick update for you in this Diamondbacks-Marlins game. 2-0 D-backs early. Sack fly scores Corbin Carroll, and then Pavin Smith goes yard. So there we go early for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We also had a couple bad beats yesterday. The over in Cubs Padres didn't come through. Pods win 4-2. But this game had every opportunity in the world to get there. I was rooting for you so hard. San Diego stranded double-digit batters 3 times with the bases loaded. Get nothing out of it. But San Diego off to a great start, 15-4, lost just once in 13 home games. You did hit the Pavetta K prop there. And the Royals yesterday, they were the right side all day. So what I like is that our handicaps are strong, Grace. And now we just got to push those forward to a couple dubs today. I know you are interested in both the Royals and Yankees series opening games today against the Tigers and Rays, respectively. Any one of those games you want to start with first? What'd you like best?
Let's see. Let's start with the Yankees Rays, actually. Okay. I think this one is interesting. I'll go under 9 here. Hopefully we can still get that at even odds. I know that sounds kind of crazy because they're playing in Yankees Junior Park down in Tampa. Then the Yankees are getting a positive boost too, moving here from cold New York to swampy Tampa. But I think these two pitchers are a little bit undervalued. Will Warren is going for New York, and he's had an unlucky start to his baseball career. In 6 appearances last year and 3 starts this year, he has an 8.35 ERA. But you look at the underlying metrics, it's 4.66 FIP and a 3.88 xFIP. All his pitches grade above average on the stuff models. He was a high strikeout guy in the minors. Sometimes you see that, a big dip once a guy moves from the minors to the majors, that he's still getting swings and misses with a strikeout rate over 26%. The fastball and the sweeper, those are his 2 mostly used pitches. Both of those have a high whiff rate with a 277 expected weighted on base average. So feel good about him. And then Taj Bradley, both of these guys, high-ranked prospects for these farm systems when they were coming up. Taj Bradley, all 4 of his pitches are grading out above average. His expected ERA, the FIP, the xFIP are all 3.3 or lower, and his strikeout rate is the highest of his career at 30%. All of this is especially impressive considering he's playing more games outside in the Tampa Heat instead of that dome in Tropicana Field, which tends to favor pitchers. So this makes me feel like what we're seeing is real. Plus, the umpire behind home plate, Doug Eddings. This is something I'll get into more, but you can also track umpire data. There are umpires who favor home teams more. They favor over-unders more just based on how they call the strikeout zone. Tonight's umpire, Doug Eddings, is 54.2 to the under with a 4% ROI. So I know it's scary taking the under here, but that is just enough to push me over the edge.
Okay, how about Royals Tigers here? Detroit got off to such a good start this season, but they now drop back-to-back games, 3 of the last 4. They're minus 148 favorites with Reese Olson on the hill at home today. Royals plus 124. Total in that one sitting 8.
Yeah, this total moved really quickly last night. It opened at 8.5. I'm seeing some 7.5s now, but I would still take the under 8 here. Tigers are facing a negative park shift, going from their 72 degree temperature controlled dome in Milwaukee to now 52 degrees in Detroit. We also have wind blowing directly in toward home plate. Then I look at these two pitchers, both right-handers today. Michael Lorenzen for the Royals has been outperforming his season projections, and not a big drop off between his actual and expected numbers, which tells us his results are legit. His location plus and pitching plus are at career highs for him. And then Reese Olson for the Tigers, not off to a great start, but he should have some positive regression. He has a 6.0 ERA in 3 starts this season, but the expected ERA is 4.5. The FIP is 3.94. And those line up more closely with his career numbers, which are a 3.5 ERA and a 3.17 career FIP. His velo is also up, which is a great sign. And the rest of his underlying metrics are the best of his career. So I think the actual results should catch up to what he's putting out there. He's just gotten a little bit unlucky. And then the top bullpen relievers on both sides are well rested here. So the under 8 in Royals Tigers.
Last couple minutes here, Grace, because we do have a couple other early games. I know you don't have any bets in them, but I'm curious if there were any leans that stood out or maybe why you stayed off of them. But Nationals Pirates coming up in 10 minutes or so. Mariners Reds a little after that. We also have A's at White Sox later on, but we can preview that game in a bit. Anything that did stand out to you on those games that are about to get underway?
So what actually stood out to me the most is these teams with the early times are getting a pretty nice boost from the weather, so their hitting should be improved today. Nationals Pirates is probably my favorite of these 3 early games. The temperature increasing from 49 to 56 degrees. Trevor Williams throwing for the Nats. He was just crushed by the Marlins. He allowed 6 runs on 8 hits in 4 2/3 innings. And then behind him, the Nats have a bad bullpen. So I think I would take the Pirates team total there, or you could go, well, that full game total has moved from 7.5 to 8 now. I think I'd still take the over 8 at -105. The other 2 games, honestly, I didn't get too deep into those, but they're also facing a positive shift in their hitting environment. Mariners Reds, the weather increasing 11 degrees, and then Athletics White Sox, they're getting a 20-degree boost in weather. So the ball should be moving less off the mound, and it should be moving more once it gets into the air. That obviously leads to higher scoring.
Well, Grace, speaking of a weather boost, how about Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for us as bettors with gambling transactions always approved for you. No usage fees, no minimums, earn cashback rewards, plus 100% approval for any and all betting deposits. If you sign up today at edgeboost.bet, use our promo code MONEY, deposit $25. Edge Boost is going to match that deposit for you. Again, go check it out at edgeboost.bet. That's edgeboost.bet. We are going to step aside, but when we return, diving into the NHL postseason picture. It's the final day of the league's regular season. VSiN's own Jonathan Davis is going to stop by, help us understand how to break it down and teams to buy in on or lay off of coming up next week.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
On VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM, channel 158, alongside Grace Remington, Stormy Buonantony with you. If you haven't been dialed into everything going on at VSiN.com, we've got you covered on just about everything right now. Live on the website, our guy Greg Peterson's got his MLB best bets for the day. We've got series previews, especially those 2-7 series sets, and Steve Makinen's first round NBA betting trends to be aware of. Plus, still to come later on today, our guy Adam Burke with his best bets for the day and our VSiN staff wagers for the NBA playoffs. Those futures markets on the move. Right now, you can sign up for our VSiN summer special. Right now, just $59 for full VSiN Pro access to everything we do here at the network through August 1st. Head over to vsin.com/subscribe today to come join us. Again, that's VSIN.com/subscribe. Also, on the website, Locked and Loaded just went live a little bit ago. Our guy Jonathan Davis with his NHL best bets and preview for today, the final day of the NHL's regular season, with Montreal's 4-2 win yesterday over the Carolina Hurricanes. The playoff picture is also set, so we've got so much to get into as Jonathan joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line, our VSiN hockey betting expert. You can also catch him on SiriusXM NHL Radio, host of Ice Cap and plenty more. Jonathan, what is going on? It's crazy. We're finally here. The playoffs are set.
We are finally here. It was a great night in Montreal last night, and it is definitely one of the best places, if not the best in the NHL for Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, I know we're all excited for the weekend to start, but you do have a few picks for the last day of the season posted over at VSiN.com, as Stormy mentioned. Anything you want to give out now? Any of your favorite props of the day?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say one of the big Detroit and Toronto tonight. I love Marco Kasper, the Red Wings rookie, scores 20th goal tonight at plus 320. He got his 19th last night. The Red Wings have talked about the fact that they really do want to get him his 20th. So I do like that. I mean, it took him an empty net goal last night to get to number 19 to put him in this position. And then Matthew Knies of the Toronto Maple Leafs, same game, plus 200 for an anytime goal. He plays on a line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. In Toronto's previous game, Matthews hit his milestone goal of 400. Marner hit his milestone 100th point. So it's all about setting up Knies tonight for getting his 30th. I love both Kasper and Knies also to go over their shots on goal prop. Kasper has had at least 2 shots on goal. I think in about 12 of his last 13 games. And I know it's a little juicy at minus 155, but it's been an easy cash for him to get to 2 shots. And Knies, like I said, Matthews and Marner are going to be putting the puck on his stick all night. You get him at plus 170 for over 3 shots on goal. So I do like that. And then in LA, Alex Laferriere, to get his 20th goal tonight, he's at plus 255.
And I like those on Kasper and Knies, right? The correlated play. If you expect him to be trying to get that goal, like he's going to be firing on net. So that approach certainly makes a lot of sense. Is that kind of the approach of the day, though, as we round out the NHL's regular season, that because the playoff picture is set, the bad teams, we know what that's going to look like as they get set for their draft hopes coming up next season. And all of these teams aren't really moving anymore. It's just about what player might be trying to reach a milestone or trying to reach an incentive similar to the NFL, but not quite at that level.
Absolutely. Look, I saw it in Los Angeles last year. Last game of the year, the LA Kings did everything to get Quentin Byfield his 20th goal and to get to his point number. Dylan Strom's got a chance to get his 30th goal tonight in that Washington game. Also, Ryan McLeod in Buffalo, the same thing. He's never had a 20-goal season. He's at 19, and he's at plus 350. So, there's a lot of different players tonight. Sidney Crosby's another one who's got a chance to hit the 90-point mark. That's a big, nice round number for Sid. He's going up against Ovechkin tonight. I think you play an Ovechkin anytime goal just because, Stormy.
Looking ahead to the playoffs and some of these series prices, we got the Battle of Florida expected to be one of the most competitive opening round series here, especially considered Panthers at 8-1, second shortest odds to win the Cup. Lightning at 9-1, third shortest odds to win the Cup. And we're getting this in the first round. Do you feel strongly about either way this series goes?
I wouldn't say I necessarily feel strongly, but I would lean to Tampa just because I think Florida's banged up. Matthew Tkachuk, we expect him to play, but he hasn't played since the Four Nations tournament. He's been traveling around the world to try to figure out how to deal with a groin injury that he suffered during the Four Nations. It's been a lot of hockey for Florida over the last couple of years. So, I would lean to Tampa just because look, they've got Andrei Vasilevsky, one of the best goalies in the world. They're super deep. This time of the year for them. They always rise. They do rise to the occasion come playoff time, but I wouldn't say a heavy lean in one way or the other. It's going to be a nasty series for sure.
VSiN Hockey Betting Analyst Jonathan Davis joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. The show is Money Moves, and we'll actually get the postseason started on Saturday with two series getting underway. Blues and Jets, Avs Stars, both with some intriguing storylines. But I want to go Colorado-Dallas first because despite the Dallas Stars being a 7-1 favorite right now to win the Stanley Cup when all is said and done, they're a plus 120 price in this opening round series against the Colorado Avalanche. What's your approach on this set? And are you in agreement with the market on this series that the Avs are the right side?
I am in agreement with the market, Stormy. Look, Dallas suffered another injury last night to Jason Robertson, one of their best goal scorers. And we don't know the extent of it. He was seen leaving the rink last night in a brace. Not a good thing. They're already without defenseman Miro Heiskanen. And, you can get away with that during the regular season, but to have a guy like Heiskanen who pretty much plays half the game not to be available in this series, that's a big loss to overcome. The Stars come in, limping both injury-wise and just the way they've played. I mean, they've lost 7 straight. They've given up 34 goals in their last 7 games. They've given up 5 goals, at least 5 goals in all but one of those 7 losses. Yeah, it's not a good spot. And so that's why this line has jumped to Colorado at minus 150. I do like Dallas. I do like Colorado in this series. It's going to be, it's Mikko Rantanen, the former Colorado Avalanche, now having to face his former team here in this first round. That's going to be rather interesting. Nathan McKinnon, and Cale Makar, obviously the two big stars for the Avalanche. McKinnon has recorded at least 1 point, by the way, in 74% of his playoff games, and his 1.3 points per game average ranks 5th all-time in Stanley Cup playoff history.
Looking at the totals for some of these games, I know the playoffs tend to be lower scoring, and I know you play a lot of team totals or period totals. How does your approach change once we get to this point of the year?
I mean, definitely teams are more cautious. The one thing that, that's been a great trend or very profitable trend, definitely since the Four Nations, is that when we've got a game that's 0-0 after 1, tend to go to that second period over. The first period can be a feeling out process. The second period is when things start to, we start to see teams get, go on more of an attack. So that's one thing that I will continue to approach, is that second period over if we've got a first period 0-0. Now, you look at Winnipeg and St. Louis, who are going to open up their series on Saturday. They played 4 times this year. 3 of the 4 meetings had 5 goals or less. We had 1 game that was a 4-3 game that was in a shootout. I think actually 2, or I'm sorry, no. And then we had 3 1-goal games, I believe, in this series as well.
And we do have the lines up for those Saturday round 1, game 1 games. Jets minus 180 favorite against the Blues plus 150, total 5.5 for that Stars Avs game. The Avalanche minus 122 on the road for that first game, total 5.5. Since we're not going to see you until then, have you looked at those lines at all? Did you like either one of those opening games?
I would tend to I'm leaning on St. Louis right now for a series price at plus 184. It's just too juicy to pass up for me. Maybe adjust once the series starts. I mean, you could even look at it this way. You could take the Blues to win game 1 and the Jets to win the series at plus 360 if you wanted to approach it that way. That's one way to target it. I think, the overall series price, though, is it's hard. I can't lay 225 on Winnipeg to win the series. Maybe the better way, if you do like Winnipeg, is Jets to win game 1, win the series at minus 105. I think that's a better approach for me if you like Winnipeg. Or you could take the Blues to win game 1 and the Jets to win the series at plus 360. That's another way to attack it. But overall, going into the series, I do like St. Louis just strictly at the price of plus 184. And here's one other thing to keep in mind when it comes to Winnipeg. Look, they've been unbelievable this year against the league's best teams. I think they ended up finishing like 26-8 against teams with winning records. But when it comes to the Stanley Cup Finals, since 2009, we have only had 2 teams win the Cup that did not draft the top player or the second overall pick on their team. That was their own draft pick. The Golden Knights won a cup. They did not draft the first overall pick. They did have Jack Eichel, who was selected number 2.
Yep.
In the same.
Thanks, JD.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Want to bet smarter, not louder? Check out the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com, where real bettors go to get ahead. Most of the betting world, it can be noise. We know that, especially on social media. Chasing steam, copying picks, recycling the same old value plays. Don't be a parrot. Check out Sharp Plays. It's the source they're echoing in a lot of cases. Since 2011, it's been locked in with what real pros are betting, elite groups, sharp money, the kind that actually moves markets. When the Sharp Plays jumps on a side, the line reacts. With insider info and powerful AI tools, you're not just guessing, you're getting ahead. Sign up for free betting reports, real-time alerts, and next-level intel via email or on X. And don't take anyone's word for it. Check the receipts. Full betting logs live on the site each and every day. So why follow the crowd when you can lead it? Head over to sharpplays.com. Respected, watched. That's sharpplays.com.
Odds move up, odds move down. Let's see where the odds are moving today in Do You Approve This Move?
All right, do you approve this move? NBA first round playoff edition. Grace Remington, Stormy Buonantony with you. Lots of spreads and totals on the move already for these initial games. Let's start with the Bucks and Pacers. Grace, Indy opened a 4.5-point favorite. They're now out to 5.5 with the Pacers getting bet. Indy is 4-1, 5 meetings last season, but things flipped this year with the Bucks taking 3 of 4. Do you approve this move?
I do approve this one. Giannis averaged over 42 points per in the regular season series between these two teams. Now he's out, and the Pacers had already won 4 of the 5 games in this series. Dame is going to be limited, or he's not going at all in game 1 because of the blood clot issue. And then you look at some of the metrics here. The Bucks in 900 possessions without Giannis and Dame are a minus 15.4 net rating, which is worse than the 14-win Pistons. So this line movement makes a lot of sense. I shall approve.
I understand the move, but I think now that you're getting an extra point with Milwaukee, I kind of like the Bucks here. Like, write off Giannis at your own risk. I love the revenge angle, although we saw how well that worked for me last night. Milwaukee has last year's playoff loss on the mind. There's some bad blood in this series with these two teams. They're extremely familiar with one another, even on the road. I think they're going to bring their all and try to steal one. So at 5.5, I lean Milwaukee, have not placed a bet yet. How about Clippers Nuggets? Denver was a 3.5-point favorite in game 1 off the hop, but just like the Clippers are getting bet in the series, they're getting bet in game 1 here, down a full point. Do you approve this move?
Moving toward the Clippers, yes, I approve that. The Nuggets post Malone finished the regular season with 3 wins under David Adelman, and they're performing like one of the best offenses in the NBA to go alongside a top 15 defense, and that's in terms of points per 100 possessions scored and allowed. But then if you go back further to March, Denver has been bottom 10 in points allowed per 100 possessions. Defensive issues are really because of a personnel issue. So that's something Adelman can't change now. He can make the offense better. He can't really fix personnel at this point. In the same span, the Clippers are second in offensive efficiency, and for the season, they are second in defensive efficiency. So I approve the line going the Clippers' way.
Yeah, people love the Clippers, and I did too, and I bet them in the series at a plus money price. They're the favorite now. It's interesting how things move. People are not believing at all in this Denver Nuggets team to get things started. How about Pistons? Knicks, only slight movement here. New York opened a 6.5-point favorite, but they are getting bet a little bit here. We're out to that full 7. Do you approve the move?
I don't think so. So Pistons won the regular season series here 3-1. They won outright as an 8.5-point underdog on January 13th. And that was using their full complement of players. It's kind of rare you can glean anything from these previous matchups, but because the lineups changed so much, but that one feels legit. Knicks aren't a good defensive team. They allowed the 12th most points per 100 possessions, 22nd in defensive efficiency against top 10 teams. So I don't think it should be moving the Knicks' way.
This next one did surprise me a little bit. I'll be honest with you. The Lakers opened a 5-point favorite, but the Timberwolves getting played in game one were down to 4. And I think that the surprise comes from, and correct me if I'm wrong, just how much the Lakers are such a public team. Like, everybody wants to bet on LA. All the sports books have taken a number of bets, heavy handle on them in the NBA postseason. Yet in this game, it's going the Timberwolves' way.
I know. I think I saw John Ewing of MGM post that for the series market, the Lakers are holding over 90% of them. It might be 99%, like something absurd. I guess that's to be expected. I'll approve toward Minnesota's way. They've been the better team since the Luka trade, since February 10th. LA has an efficiency differential of 2. Minnesota has an efficiency differential of 6.6. So not the most egregious difference, but, it is noticeable. And then they've been a top 10 team in points scored and allowed per 100 possessions as well.
Lakers 4th on the board, 14-1 to win an NBA title, and they're minus 195 favorites in the series. I loved this quote, though, from Anthony Edwards, who is never he's never one to back down from anyone, said, "I love the fact that the Lakers are favorites in this series. I love the fact that everyone wants the Lakers to win. That's how it's supposed to be. They don't want the Timberwolves to win. I get it." He's fired up. So we'll see how that one goes. Orlando and Boston in the 7-2 matchup, because obviously the Cleveland Cavaliers had the best record in the Eastern Conference to claim that 1 seed. They played 3 times in the regular season. The Magic won twice, albeit Jason Tatum didn't play for the Celtics in either of those losses. And one of the defeats was last week when Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and Derek White were all sidelined. This one has moved slightly in Boston's favor from 13.5 out to 14. Big favorites here for Boston.
Well, I guess I'll approve it. It's the same number. 13.5 and 14 are the same number. So doesn't really do much for me. If we're talking about moving up to a whole nother possession, so getting to 15.5, that's something I would be not so approving of. Because as I mentioned yesterday, I do think the Magic can make it a little bit more competitive in the 3-point game, considering Boston lives and dies by the 3, but that's where Orlando excels. They gave up fewer makes and attempts beyond the mark than any other team in the league, and they kept the regular season games close because of that. So, and it's also a little weird seeing the side move toward the favorite and yet the total move down, because typically those are the correlation is between favorites and overs, so we're going opposite here. But I think the total movement makes sense. I'll approve that one. It's moved from 209 to 206.
In the only head-to-head meeting that Boston did have its full lineup against the Magic, the Celtics won by 26. But we'll see, as you said, it's playoff basketball. We'll see head-to-head this time of year if they can keep it closer. But yeah, that total on the move. And there are a handful of totals in these opening games as well that have moved. Bucks, Pacers, some of these very slight, right? But 225.5 to 225 consensus right now. Clippers, Nuggets, we have seen a 2-point move to the over on that one from 223.5 to 225. Pistons, Knicks, slightly down 221 to 220.5. And so let's start with those 3. Any of those totals that did stand out to you, the movement one way or another?
Let's see. Clippers, Nuggets going up. Yeah, I think so, because of, like I said, David Adelman, this offense has become a bit more efficient since he's taken over. So I think, just more scoring upside makes sense for that total to move up. Piston Knicks is down 0.5 point. No, don't really feel any way about that. Bucks Pacers has not really moved. No, I need something more exciting here. I need something a little bit more exciting. Give me how about Warriors Rockets?
There we go. We've got a 3-point move. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I like this one. The Rockets 4th in defensive rating. They're the best offensive rebounding team. Warriors are 3rd worst in rebounds per game allowed to opposing centers. Houston has home court advantage, so they can control the pace of this game, at least game 1 here. So I was about to say I like the side too. It's moved to 0.5 point Houston's way, and I guess when you're 1.5, that's a little bit more significant than a 13.5 to 14. But yeah, I approve the move going to Houston side and the under.
Yes, slight movement on the spread there, but like you said, a 3-point swing on the total. Also, pretty significant adjustment in Timberwolves Lakers on the total, down from 219 to 216.5. Okay, that was fun. And we will get a little bit more from behind the counter on the way that some of these games are getting bet, which games are being bet significantly more than others when Chuck Esposito joins us coming up in hour 2. After this commercial break, good to remember, as of today, we are officially 1 week away from the start of the NFL draft out there in Green Bay. Our own Matt Humans has his mock draft out on VSiN.com. His top 10, eerily similar to an ESPN anonymous scout breakdown of who they predict will be in the top 10. Could that present a betting opportunity? We'll hit that and more next.